What's up, everyone? It's Brooke Hogg, the mental coach, and I want to welcome you back to another episode of The Sit Down. Today, I'm sitting here with Coach Sydney Carter, who is the Director of Player Development for women's basketball for the University of Texas at Austin. Welcome, Sydney, and thank you for sitting down to talk mental health and athletes from your perspective.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Can't wait.
Okay, so Sydney, take us on a journey from you growing up in DeSoto, Texas, playing sports to your role now.
Ooh, what a journey. Okay, so I actually grew up in Oak Cliff, Texas. So I started playing basketball when I was 4 in Oak Cliff at the local like YMCA. My mom put me in basketball against the boys, was running past them all. Probably didn't take two dribbles the first game I played. But travels weren't called when you're that young. So my mom knew it was something I needed to stick with. And so I come from a really athletic family. Everyone in my family played sports. Um, Ended up moving to DeSoto around age of 7 or 8, maybe. Um, and then played high school basketball, went on to get a scholarship to play at Texas A&M, where I won a national championship in 2011, which was my junior year. Was then drafted to the WNBA after that. Played 4 years there, 7 years overseas. So intertwining seasons year after year. And then I decided to retire in 2018. Went back to my alma mater in A&M to start my coaching career. And then I landed here at Texas after 2 years. And so going into my second year now at Texas as a player development and an assistant, and it's been a wild ride. That's the compact version of it.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Okay, and so as an athlete, do you remember mental health like being a topic of discussion, during your journey?
I actually don't. So I played basketball in college. My first year was 2008. I graduated in 2012. And so back then, you didn't have the resources that fortunately our kids have these days. And so you didn't really hear that term thrown around quite a bit when you dealt with athletes. And so it was kind of just like a just deal with it or just get through type of thing. And so I never felt like I really ever heard mental health back then. It wasn't something that was talked about. It wasn't something that was considered crucial in an athlete's life back in that time.
Okay. Okay. And as an athlete and as a coach, how important do you feel that athletes should be, of course, physically in shape, but as well as mentally in shape as well?
I think is very, very important. And I say that because if you are not mentally in tune with everything that you're doing, the physical will be affected by that. Like I truly believe that because if you don't have the right state of mind and your mind is everywhere, you're not able to put your best foot forward when you're doing something that requires your physical attention as well. And so basketball is so physically taxing, but it's also a sport that you need to think with. As with any other sport, obviously, I'm just specifically talking about basketball because that's what I play and that's what I coach. But having a basketball IQ is just as important as having the physical capabilities of your talent, your God-given talent, or your athleticism. There's just so many different things that people don't realize are mental just as much as they're physical in basketball. So if you're not right mentally, or if you don't feel supported as a person before an athlete, I think it just completely affects everything that you do on and off the court.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, do you? I know with you coaching the women at UT, would you say the pressures that they deal with today are similar or different to maybe the pressures that you dealt with playing when you were playing at A&M?
Um, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, the standard, because I'm working with someone who was my coach when I was at A&M, I know the standard of being at a top school and a top level. So that standard is the same. So those are the similarities of like what's expected of you as an athlete. But there are so many different things because of the times that have changed since then. So Instagram, Snapchat, like those things were Snapchat came out my senior year of college. Instagram, I think I was on Instagram for a year before I got out of school. So social media has really taken off and has really took a toll on student athletes, people in general. You don't even have to be an athlete to be affected by it because you see so many different things on there that influence you, make you question, how you're supposed to look, how you're supposed to feel. So I think the biggest difference is the use of social media and how much it actually affects kids these days, because you just see too many of them trying to compare themselves to what they see on socials or what they see on TV, what they hear in music. Like music was different, TV shows were different. There's just everything about the way of life was different, is different now than it was back then. So I feel like I didn't have so many, like there's obviously there's pros and cons to everything. There's cons to social media, there's pros to social media. But I feel like there's way more cons because social media is way more prevalent. Um, so you have to be careful with what you choose to be influenced by when you're an athlete or just a young person and growing up in this generation.
Yes, I totally agree. Totally agree. So, how do you recenter yourself in terms of balancing like home and social life, personal life, and then also being a coach as well?
Um, I do a lot of different things. I mean, obviously, like everybody, every woman always tries to like has like her self-care moments and everything like that, but those things don't really center me. I'm very big on my prayer, so that always centers me. But I've also been in a situation where like I'm very fortunate to have a really big family. My mom and I are BFFs till the end. I've got four sisters, and so I have found it okay to voice when I'm not okay. And so I use my family to recenter. I use prayer to recenter. And fortunately for me, I'm around 15 girls on this team that I can find solace in. Like they brighten my day all the time. And so I just try to surround myself with like-minded people. And I try to surround myself with people that I can draw good energy from, that have just these good auras and are positive, choose to be positive. So many times people are like, "How are you today?" And I'm like, "I'm happy because I choose to be happy." And so those are the type of people that I choose to surround myself by. And it makes it really easy for me to always find my center, my equilibrium, because I'm around people that just know it's a choice to be good.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so, with your experience coming from playing at a professional level, how do you help your athletes to kind of like mentally prepare for like life after college basketball?
Well, for me, it's really easy because I feel like I still have my youth. They also know that I've done so many things that they want to do. So it's really easy for me to be relatable to them in through their eyes. And so a lot of the times I tell them, look, if y'all don't even want to talk, we don't even have to talk about basketball. Like every day, I'm your coach. You got these other coaches that are always talking to you about basketball. If you just want to come to my office, you want to tell me something in confidence, you want to share something with me that has nothing to do with basketball, like we don't even have to talk about that. And so I try to have an open door policy with my kids all of the time and letting them know that like I can be whatever you need me to be in that moment. If you just need an ear, if you just need somebody to sit there and maybe wipe your tears today, if you need me to show you some support because you need a solution, I'm going to do my best. I'm not a professional by any means, but I'm going to do my best to listen to you, help you understand that I see you as a person before anything else, before what you can do for me on the floor. And then I try my best to go and get them the professional help that they need. Whether that's reaching out to somebody, physically walking them over there and like helping them find the courage to go and speak to someone if they feel like that's what they need to do. But we're fortunate enough to have professional services here for our student athletes. And a lot of colleges actually do these days. So yeah, that's what I try to do. I try to have an open door policy, and I feel like all of our kids know that before anything, they're human beings, and sometimes they just want people to listen. They don't necessarily need you to do anything else but listen. And so I try to do that with an open heart and an open mind.
That's awesome. That kind of took me, you kind of answered my next question, which is how do you check in with them? So definitely knowing, I'm glad to know that you have an open door policy with them and that you are that support or that liaison between them for whatever it is that they need. So that is awesome. That is absolutely awesome. So um, before I wrap up, I know that seems like it's pretty quick, but it tends to be that way when you're kind of meeting virtually.
Mhm.
But before I wrap up, I want to ask you, what can we expect from the UT women's basketball this season?
Ooh, I mean, we are very fortunate to in the age of the transfer portal in college basketball, we were very fortunate to get our whole team back this year. We had a couple graduate. So, we lost like three kids, but they graduated. They didn't transfer. And so that's a good thing for us because it's very, very rare in this time. So we're going to have the same team, which means we're going to have chemistry. We're going to be good. Obviously, you always want to be good. So I think you're going to see a team that has matured this year. Last year we were still a little bit young. We were new. We had a lot of new kids trying to just gel together, and this year we've got it. And so we've added some new pieces with our new kids. Got a 6'9" kid.
Wow.
That says enough for you.
Wow.
We've got a McDonald's All-American from Mississippi here. She actually just won a gold medal with USA Basketball last week. So she's going to be exciting to watch. And so I think you're going to see a lot of good basketball from our kids this year. And obviously you'll see some fits on the sideline from our staff.
Absolutely, absolutely. And can I say, or can I ask rather, are you kind of like that point person for the fits, or is everybody kind of just on board coming in with their own,
Yeah.
idea of what they want to look like?
Yeah, so everybody wears their own thing, but sometimes you'll get like people will be like, Sydney, does this look good? And I'm like, I'll yes or no it. But everybody has their own style, and you kind of just show up, and you just people are always like, okay, now I can't be sitting next to you if I ain't looking my best. And I'm like, y'all cut it out. But it's everybody just does their own thing, and you show up and you look nice.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I will say that is one thing that I actually should have gotten into styling myself, because I love putting pieces and different things together. So man, I
Yeah.
bet that, like I said, that sounds like a little pressure they're trying to add to you in the styling department.
It doesn't add any pressure just because I've never done it for other people. Like I've
Uh-huh.
always just said, you know what? Like I want to put my best foot forward all the time. If I look good, I'm gonna coach good. I'm gonna be there for my kid. Like that's how I feel. It's always how I've been. And so, it's not I don't ever put together an outfit and I'm like, okay, the people don't like this. Like I just put together what I like. And if it works, it works. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't.
Right. Because it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, that's what you wanted to
Exactly.
wear and that's what you feel good in. So yes, so I
Mhm.
can definitely, I share the same sentiments. I really, really do. I really, really do. So is there anything that you can think of that you could maybe share to those that are going to be watching this? I mean, maybe a tip that you can share to an athlete, or maybe something that you can share to for a parent that could be helpful.
Yeah, I think from what I've heard, because I am someone that actually has done therapy before, so I feel like you hear so many times Black people don't go to therapy. And so I try to let people know that you cannot compare your journey to other people's. So if you feel like that's what you need, and some people don't need it, some people do. Um, I think you cannot listen to the stereotypes that other people may put on certain things. I think you can't limit yourself to the glass ceiling that so many people put on things when it comes to your mental health. But I think a lot of people also just have problems with saying, like, I'm not okay. And it's perfectly fine. Like, no one's ever okay all the time. Like, I'd never come to work and I'm happy all the time. Like I said, I do choose to be happy, but there's some factors every day that are like, okay, that's not that I'm not 24/7, I'm not happy. And so I think it's just people need to be okay with being uncomfortable and then finding some people or things that you can find comfort in. And if that is going to therapy, then it's going to therapy, and finding the right person for that. Or if it's just talking to your parents, talking to your friends that you know that you can trust. There's just so many different ways to deal with the struggles and the adversity that life puts you through. Because, like you say, life be life.
Right,
Um,
right.
but it's just I think people really have this thing where they just feel like they have to be tough all the time, and it's okay to need others. Everybody's going to need somebody else at some point. You can't always go through this life alone and just biting your tongue and letting things build up. And so I think just finding comfort in being uncomfortable is it's harder said. It's harder done than said, but once you figure it out, life gets a little bit easier for you. You start to deal with things a lot easier. So that's what I have to say.
No, that's great. That's great. Absolutely. And I think that everything that you just said is definitely all of it is great and it is correct. And I do and I can see that with athletes a lot of times, of course, and you probably know this yourself. You know, when you're leaving hometown, you're leaving, mom and dad's home. I mean, it's a lot. You know, wherever you decide to go, even if you do decide to stay, in town, you're on campus, you're still away from home. You know what I mean? So it's just still a different world. And so I think that is also, great for athletes and just, even if you're not an athlete, just if you're just leaving home and you're going to college just as a student, you definitely have to build that support around you. You know, a lot of people that move to different cities and states, they will, say, okay, the first thing I need to select is a church, and a gym or whatever that may be, and that helps them to transition a little bit easier from being away or from their hometown or whatever that may be. So I think that that's great information and great advice for athletes and for parents as well. So appreciate.
Yeah, I find a church and I find a nail shop.
Yes, absolutely. We have to find the nail shop for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. So, um, I just want to thank you again so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to sit down with me today. And I wish you nothing but abundance of, success and happiness in, going forward. And I'm definitely going to try my best to catch a UT women's basketball game this season.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much. It was fun. I enjoyed talking.
All right. Thanks so much.
Mhm.
For more content from The Sit Down and the mental coach Brooke Hogg, follow, like, and subscribe on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.
What's up, everyone? It's Brooke Hogg, the mental coach. And I want to thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Sit Down today. And I want to encourage you to like, follow, share, and subscribe to my social media handles that are listed on the screen. And until next time, I want you to remember to take care of your mental health.